Well, thank you everyone for taking the time and joining this mastermind. I know a bunch of you have joined from India, and it's late, so I'll try to keep this initial part quick and let CK then go right into the topic. At a very high level, Archimedes is a software engineering guild that's been curated by for the most part, ThoughtWorks alums, but started by ThoughtWorks, Accenture, and IBM alums. In terms of what the guild is meant for, it's really meant for three things. One is to enable guild members to engage with each other. Two, to help them grow and get better at their chosen skill and or learn new skills. And the third is the ability to earn an income through multiple set of revenue streams, and not just your traditional full-time revenue streams, but also fractional and consulting-led revenue streams that guild members have access to with the startups that are part of our Archimedes ecosystem. In terms of how the guild works, when you get into the guild, you basically have to do a screening challenge of sorts that helps determine your initial guild band. And you can come in with very limited experience, which means you could be sort of starting off as an apprentice, and then you work your way up through to practitioner, coder, expert, and guru. But of course, depending on the skill level that you come in at, you could come in even at the guru level. And we have a decent number of people that are at the guru level. But that's essentially the level that everyone in the guild strives for, regardless of what their initial skill level might be. The guild is globally dispersed, though we have a significant percentage of people in Africa at this point. The second largest segment is South Asia, specifically India, and the third is the US. And we are looking at scaling out certain other regions, particularly the ones in yellow, into this year, later this year, into next year. I'm going to skip past this. I think this is mostly talking about the various revenue streams that are accessible to guild members, starting with task-based work at code as a service, all the way through to full-time hiring. But yeah, I think most of you probably already know this. This Mastermind series is something that we've been doing for more than a year and a half now, and it has gotten a decent number of subscribers, particularly on YouTube over that time period, and that's why the live stream, and that's why we also obviously record it and upload what comes out of this there. So all of the previous sessions are on YouTube. They're also on the Fourth Act site, which is archimedes.dev/fourth act. But you can gain access to it through either avenue. Today's mastermind is going to be by CK. He is a software engineer currently at Twilio. He was previously at ThoughtWorks. He's worked with us on a bunch of things in the past and has been very, very resourceful, informative, always bringing new and great things to the table. So really looking forward to this. And with that, I'll hand it off to CK to go through really the bulk of this conversation. Thanks, CK. Over to you.
Thank you. So today we're going to mainly talk about monorepos in the front end. So as we are seeing today, with the latest development in the front end technologies, we are seeing a lot of new changes that is coming in. So previously I had seen a few of the same mastermind talking about micro frontends. So micro frontends is one part where now people are even moving towards my monorepos, where the ecosystem is completely built on JavaScript. Let's say it might be a backend application that is built on Express.js, and now we have a front-end application that is built on React.js, and there are multiple applications like this built within the JavaScript ecosystem, and now people want to come into monorepos. So now in detail, we'll go through monorepos and develop, I'll give a complete walkthrough on how monorepo application development is done as well. So in this part, I would be covering mainly three topics. One is introduction to monorepos, development of monorepos using Lerna, and then a final conclusion. So what are monorepos? Monorepos is basically an architectural concept, which is basically contains all the meaning in its title. Instead of managing multiple repositories, you keep all your isolated code parts inside one repository. Keeping in mind the word isolate, it means the monorepo has nothing in common with monolithic apps. You can keep many kinds of logical apps inside one repo. So to give an example, let's say I have an application that I'm building. e-commerce application, and e-commerce application will contain an admin portal which is built on Next.js, and a backend application that is built on Express.js. And again, I have one more application that is the client side application, which is again built on Next.js. So with this all application, I will have one repo inside this where all the dependencies, let's say that would be TypeScript configuration, it would be my utilities or a design system, everything is developed inside one repo, and each of this repo can share the things that is across. So let's say I have a backend application that is developed, and it consists of a typeface. Now that same typeface has to be used by the front-end application as well. So for that, we don't have to rewrite this. Whereas now my backend app, by developing using Monorepo, we can use the typeface that has been developed by the backend application in my front end as well. So that is the concept of the monorepo. Now, before, what we used to do is we used to have multiple repos, where it used to be like one backend application having a separate repo where the code is. So here we are trying to eliminate the concept of repeating the code, repeating like usage of multiple patterns here. So that is where monorepo came into picture. So now pros and cons. So with this, what we are able to do is one place to store all configs and tests. So our TypeScript configuration, ESLint configuration, prettier configuration can all be stored at one place. We don't have to rewrite it. Each of this application can reuse it. And simplified package publishing. That means if you plan to implement new feature inside a package that is dependent on another, it is very easy because of the shared code. Then easier dependency management. Only one package.json is needed to reinstall all dependencies. Like let's say I have a load dash that is required by all the application. It is only I have to do it one parent part, and my rest of the application will take care of it. I don't have to install at each and every small places. Now, reuse of code with shared package while still keeping isolated allows you to reuse package from one other package while keeping them isolated from one another. So these are the main advantages that we have on Monorepo. So let's go now in detail of the cons, like what are the disadvantages. So the disadvantages comes into the management. So where we have like, let's say I have a team of 10 people and I want to restrict the access. So out of 10 people, I want 4 people to only access the backend side of the application, and the rest of the 6 only to access the front end side of the application. So that cannot be done with Monorepo. So it is very difficult to see, like, because it is a lot of commits that goes into. So are we clear? Is there any doubts till here, or do you guys have any questions? Okay, so I'll continue. So, and higher build time, because you have a lot of source code in one place, it will take more time for your CI to run everything and to approve every PR. So these are the kind of like what we are seeing, but these, whatever we are seeing here, except the restrict access, the rest of the things are being taken care by a few of the technologies that are coming in latest. There are certain companies that are working towards this. One of them is TurboRepo, which is really working towards the higher build time issues. And even Facebook is working now by patching Mercurial to avoid the poor Git performance. So these are with the drawbacks, we are seeing even the improvements on Monorepo because it is the latest thing that is being done on the front end and the back end side. So next. So here we're going to go in detail with Lerna. Lerna has been playing a very prominent role all this time in the Monorepo. So like a lot of the application has been developed in Lerna, and the main concept of Monorepo came from Google and Facebook, where their whole application is managed at one big repo. So here, like what Lerna does is it takes out the overhead for us to manage the packages and update the dependencies of all packages and build all packages. So that is the main job of Lerna here. So let's start here. What I'm doing is I have created a simple folder. It is called as Monorepos. And inside that, I'm creating a folder called packages. So here we need to create a folder called packages, because that is where it is very important. So that is what we specify. That is where we create all the sub packages. Let's say Express app or a front end app. So packages is the folder where we're going to start creating it. So my main repo, root repo will be Monorepo, which I have named. It can be named anything, whatever you have to name it. So here there are 4 commands that basically I run within my Express app, because I'm here developing my simple Express app. So I start with yarn init, which will initiate dependency TypeScript. And because it's a TypeScript application, I'll be adding the types for Express as well. And then I'm initializing the TypeScript configuration. So if you see on the, so if you see on the right side, there is server.ts. Server.ts is my simple Node.js file, which basically initiates the server, Node.js server. Are we good with this? Any doubts? Okay, so here if you see, there is app.get/data where I'll be passing down the JSON that says just foo and bar. And the port is listening at port 3001. So also one more important thing is to mention the output directory, which will be not specified in my TypeScript file when I initialize it. So which will be the dist directory. So once that is done, we further go ahead and create one more React app inside packages. So with the command yarn create React app, simple React app. So simple React app is my React app name with the template as TypeScript, because this also has to be the TypeScript application that we are doing. So if you see here, my React app is like the base React app, whatever the template that React provides. So, but what I have is a button. So button has an on-click event that goes further and fetches the JSON data from port 3000. That is my Express app. So that is being done on the button click. So when we do the button click, we can see on our left side the object data, server data returned successfully, which is returned from my server app, that is the Express app. So next is we have now two applications, that is one is React app and one is a Node.js app. Now we'll start adding the Lerna to this application. So how we add Lerna is we go into the root directory, that is my monorepo, and from there we start with the command yarn init. We initialize the packet.json with yarn init, and then we add yarn add Lerna TypeScript. These are two packages as a dev dependency that we are adding Lerna, and we are adding TypeScript as well here on the outer directory. And then npx Lerna init. So with npx Lerna init, what we are doing is we are initiating the Lerna.json, which contains the configuration for my monorepo. Below mentioned are the two files that we have. One is packet.json and one other is Lerna.json. What you see on the left side, that is packages, which has packages subfolder with a while character. That clearly means where is my packages? What is the naming convention that I've used? So in this project, I have used packages as my naming convention to store all the subrepos. So whatever is stored inside packages are all my subrepos. That is what I'm saying. NPM client. So NPM client is very important here. So you have to specify what is the NPM client that is being used. Is it NPM or is it yarn? So here we are using yarn as the NPM client, and that is why we have mentioned as yarn. On the right side, so when we see the packet.json, there are a few important things that we have to say. So to work with any monorepo, so specifying private true is very important. Only when we specify private true, only then the monorepo starts working. Next is workspaces. So here also we have to specify what are my workspaces here. So here we have specified as packages. So all my workspaces contains in packages directory, and then start Lerna run parallel start, because we have to start the front end and back end simultaneously. We will use Lerna command here. So that is what my start script is doing. So, and then as a dev dependency, we have added Lerna. So next is going to tsconfig. So what we are doing is here, so we will be importing any of the file or any module that we want from either of the front end or from the any other thing. So we have specified base URL as packages, so that I can easily import it. So this is how, once I have done it, this is how my whole structure will look like. So dot is what my monorepos is. From there, we have packages. Packages again has two directories. One is simple express server and simple React app. So simple express server has server.ts file, yarn log, packet.json, and tsconfig. Whereas my simple create React app has all the default setup that has been done. And then outside packages, that is inside my monorepo, I have lerna.json, I have tsconfig.json, and I have pspackage.json. These are the files I have. So once this is done, we go further. So with this, we are done with the basic setup of Lerna. Like we have set up the monorepo. Any doubts? Any questions? So now let's see how can we share the dependencies and code like between the apps. So let's say there is a utility library that we want to use in both our React app and our Express server. For simplicity, let's say like we want to install load dash. So the same load dash I want to use it in my Express, and same I want to use it in my React app as well. So what we do is we use the Lerna command that is inside Monorepo, where we are in the root directory. We start with npx lerna add load dash packages / simple. That means anything that goes with simple, it will add the load dash to those modules. And then in the next line, we are adding the types for load dash because it is a TypeScript project. We need to add the types as well. Once we have done this, we are now good to go and use the imported mod, like installed module. So now we are importing load dash in the Express and also in the React app. So next is we are exporting. So now we have seen how we install a package across multiple modules. Now we'll see how we can use like a piece of code that is written in Express server inside React app. So let's say in the Express server, you are seeing there is a little line written export interface, query payload string. So this payload, we are writing a type on what my payload should be. So if you see on the /app.get, there is we are specifying the payload to be respond data to be payload. The same payload we are importing from the simple Express server /server. So import query payload from simple Express server /server. So once we have done this, we are now good to go and use it on the React app. So the one that is exported from the Express server is now good to use from the React app. This is how we can share the code and dependencies across the application. Any doubts, questions?
Yeah, like where do the node modules reside? Is it in the common outer level?
Node modules will be installed in the outer level and the root directory. So like under my Monorepos, there will be a node modules where the node modules will be installed, and that reference will be inside my React app and Express server.
In case if I want to remove any dependency added from a specific package, which means a specific application, can be done from the root level, or it needs to be taken care from the individual application level?
So it depends on where you want to remove. Like if you want to remove it only at, like, let's say I have installed load dash and I want to remove it only on the React app, you can just use the yarn command inside React app and remove it, or you can do it at the outer level as also. If you want to remove it at the outer level, like throughout the application, both the things are possible. Okay. So once everything is done, so like when we get some data, this is how it looks like. So next, and now let's say how do we create a shared package? Let's say, so now we saw like query interface being exported from the Express server. So let's say I want to create a separate package only for my interfaces that can be used across my front end and the backend application. How do I do that? So for any packages that you want to create inside Lerna, you are using npx lerna create command. So npx lerna create command, it creates a package. That is the easiest way to do it. So if you're using Lerna command, we can quickly create easily new projects within our Monorepo. So we use npx lerna create simple shared data, npx lerna add TypeScript dev. So we are here again, we are adding the TypeScript as a dependency throughout the application. And then we are doing the yarn install. So what this does is this will create a directory called simple shared data in your package. And we have already added same version of TypeScript as a dev dependency. You can remove the lib directory. So there are certain packages so that if you're not using that, you can remove it. And then what we'll go ahead and do is inside shared data, we'll create an index.txt file. So inside index.txt file, we'll export the interface again, saying query payload string. Now that query payload string, what we do is we will now import in both our server.ts and app.tsx. So if you see here, import query payload from simple shared data and import query payload from simple shared data. So here we are seeing how to create a shared package. So this is what Lerna provides us with. So what are the main commands that we're going to focus on is yarn init, which will initialize the empty package, and then yarn add. So Lerna is not it's a development dependency. So you have to be adding it as a dev dependency. So yarn add d Lerna will add as a dev dependency, and then npx Lerna init to initialize learner.json. So this will initialize learner.json and create a monorepo. And then to add any package, you will mainly use command npx Lerna add Lodash. So the Lodash will be any package that you would be using. So npx Lerna create. So this will help you in creating the projects inside Monorepo. So this is mainly about Lerna. So any doubts, any questions? Okay. So like what are the other options we have? So we have, as I mentioned earlier, TurboRepo. So what TurboRepo gives us an option is, so TurboRepo basically creates a fingerprint. Let's say now we are doing a build, right? So with Lerna, when I'm doing the build, it does the build of every project. Even though there is no change on each and every project, it still does the build, which will actually increase the build time. But TurboRepo really comes into handy when in that picture. What TurboRepo basically does is it creates a fine fingerprint of the whole code base and only does the build of what is not being changed, what has been changed. So let's say I had in the previous example, if we take, we had Express app and we had a Create app, the React app. Now, let's say I have only made change in the Express app and I have not made change in the React app. Now, if in that case, if I'm using Lerna, when I do the build will happen both on the Express app and on the React app. But if I'm using TurboRepo, the build will only happen on the Express app, because the React app I have not made any changes. It will only happen on the Express app. So that is the main advantage on the TurboRepo that we have. It reduces the overhead that is a lot more there in the Lerna. So that is one option. And then next we have Bazel, which is Google's monorepo oriented build system. And then we have NX. NX is similar to what TurboRepo is actually. So on a conclusion, Monorepo is just tool. There are a lot of arguments whether it is a future or not, but the truth is it has some cases, like when we are building an ecosystem inside the JavaScript or TypeScript ecosystem of applications, it really has a lot of use cases and deals with efficient manner. So, and also this tool, the Monorepo, has evolved and gained much more flexibility. And there's still a lot of issues like git performance, which I mentioned, which has to be yet figured out. And that's it on the Monorepo. Any questions?
Yeah, so just in terms of CK, are there like sort of real world examples where you've used it, and what's your experience been like, both good and bad?
So what we did is we had the chance to use Monorepo in one of the application that we developed. So everything worked good except when we had to run end-to-end test cases. So because that is the biggest disadvantage we have. Like let's say there is an application, there is a design system that we developed. We developed a design system and we developed the application based on that design system, and we had to run the end-to-end test cases. That was the only one place where we couldn't figure out how to run the end-to-end test cases on the whole application. So, and except that, it really worked well. If that is not a problem, it really worked well for us, because what we did is we had 3 applications, basically one design system and 2 applications. And the design system had to be like the other 2 applications were dependent on this design system to import all the components. So instead of rewriting this component again and again, all we did is we had 3 projects like which shared the code across. So when we are in that kind of a scenario, it really works well.
Is there no way to get around that? And if so, you can't release without doing end-to-end testing, right? So how do you deal with that?
So that was like we are still in the process of actually working out towards on that.
And what's the constraint? I'm not sure I understand like why your end-to-end tests do not execute.
So it was basically failing because it was not able to find few of the components actually. So that was the problem we had, and it was very difficult for us. Like we are also trying to figure out why exactly it is failing. And even when we looked at the community as well, that is where a lot of people are complaining about is running the test cases, where it has to work to across the apps, right? So that is where a lot of issues even now exist. But when we talk about TurboRepo, that is actually solving that issue. With Lerna, that is the issues we have, like where we have to work towards on running test cases across
How does TurboRepo solve it? Is it through? Does it have its own testing framework or something, or what enables it to solve for that?
So TurboRepo has this dependency management that has been done brilliantly. So I'm not sure how they are solving it, but with the TurboRepo, what when we read through the articles, that is what is being now, because Lerna, people are moving away from Lerna because of these constraints.
So you're basically saying because it knows the dependencies, it can map the components, and it can basically execute end-to-end testing as a result of that. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. If there's no other questions, I think this is fine. This I don't think we need to take the whole hour unless there are questions. But if you do have questions that come up later, I'm not sure if everyone here is on the Slack channel, but we can send you an invite to our Archimedes Slack as well, so you can ask questions to CK there as well if there are any follow-ups. But CK, thanks for your time, and thank you everybody for joining, and I'll catch you in the next Mastermind. Take care.